Let's hear it for Frank Meyers!
Three cheers for Frank. Hip hip!
Hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray!
So Frank's got some things he wants to tell us, but Lisa, did you want to say anything first, or?
Sure.
Come here, Lisa. You better.
You should. Definitely.
What's your
Excuse me. Oh, my shoulder. It is. Just wanted to take a few moments to say a few thank yous. First and foremost, Paul Dewar of the NDP. Accountability and integrity are something desperately lacking in some of our leaders today. We've been requesting a political presence for months now. By coming here to see Frank today, you have given Frank and all of his supporters hope that this injustice can be resolved and that our leaders do care about the people. So thanks to Paul Dewar. Sorry. Secondly,
We're just reactivating our hand warmers.
Secondly, the elders. Those of you who have been here for 28 days by Frank's side, standing guard over him so that those barns remain standing. You've all sacrificed time away from your families so that Frank could be looked after. And you guys have gone over and above. You're awesome.
So are you, Lisa.
Page admins. It's not easy handling 52,000 people and keeping them updated. It's a full-time job, and I just wanted to say a very special thank you to Melissa, Alicia, Mallory, Quebec, and Tim as well. So thank you. Third, all the page supporters. Your positive words of encouragement for Frank and us keep us fueled. While we are doing what we do, you are fighting the good fight on your end and bringing increased awareness to this issue. Frank knows all of you are behind him in this cause, so thank you very much. And lastly, Frank Meyers. You are such an inspiration to us all, and you have shown us that it's okay to stand your ground, fight for what's right, and never give up. Okay.
Over to you, Frank.
Sorry.
I'll let you speak. Absolutely. While I'm here.
There's no difference between here and Syria, Canada. In Syria, they're using bombs, guns, and ammunition to kill the people. In Canada, they're using pencil and paper, and you can't talk back to them. They're just like a bunch of bullies. The media trying to make the Meyers family a troublemaker. Why would they want the protesters to go away and let the Meyers family grieve by themselves? It's done in the Trentonian paper by one of the reporters. This all started by Mayor Williams, Rick Norland, Colonel Williams. Why Mayor traveling to Ottawa every 2 or 3 weeks to get a hold of McKay and Ambrose to take the Meyers family away. The Meyers family is fighting for every man, woman, and child in this country to have food and jobs on their plate. The minimum wage is $11. Who has to pay for the increase? Does the bureaucrats pay for it or the bullies? But only the blue-collar pay their own wages. It's not comes out of the high-class people. The rising price of food and heat in this country to stop. NDP is the only party to answer the people answer for help. So why vote for anyone else? Why not vote for the This is not the Myers fight only. Everyone else to fight too. All the Myerses want is the government to leave us alone and help the blue-collar people of this country. The local media has tried every way to destroy the Myers family. Our forefathers fought for this country. The other tribes, native tribes in this country worked with them from up and down in the American to fight against the wars. Where are all the bullies when this was turned down in 2012 at the hearing? And they say it was nothing done. This hearing was put through to help the Myers and they wouldn't listen to nobody. If there's a conflict of interest for the mayor of Trenton, of the property he owns and the people coming in here, he owns approximately 4 hotels. That's about all I have to say. And I hope they all vote for the NDP in this coming election.
I want to, first of all, thank you so much, every one of you, for what you've done. And I want to thank Frank, obviously. When I started to hear about the issue, it was one that was just a head shaker for me. I couldn't understand why our government wouldn't actually, listen to the voice that Frank was voicing for all of us. And that is, what is reasonable? What is fair? And what does it mean to work the land for everyone? Because that's what this is about. This is about our history. Yes. And you consider that this piece of land has been here for hundreds of years, and that it was the place where people came to start what we have and we take for granted in this region. Yes. And I'm a proud Eastern Ontarian, and in Eastern Ontario we really do take value in our history, and that's what this is about. But it's also about someone who wants to work the land and keep it in his family, to keep that history alive, and to make sure we don't just throw good farmland away. Exactly. I know, listen, do we need to have support for our military and proper training? Absolutely. But it doesn't have to be done in this way. And when you have a process that doesn't include the voice of everyday people, and I'm from Ottawa, I know how it works, and when people just, paper over the process and do not allow someone to have a say, it's wrong. Yes. And so I want to say to you today that I'm here obviously to support what Frank's doing and what you've been doing. But most importantly to say we've got to stop this railroading of people's voices, and we've got to stop giving up our farmland, and we have to start entrusting our history to our next generations, because this is not just any farm. Right. As modeled today by the good captain himself. This is important. I want, my grandchildren to know this piece of history, to know that the good captain himself was fighting the good fight, and as a result of that was honored with land here. And what did he do? He worked the land, and so that Frank could work the land, and we want Frank's family to continue that. This is about our history, this is about our future, and this is about what's right. So what I will be doing, I've written to Minister Nichols already, but I will be raising this in the House of Commons. I'm going to ask the government directly, why is it that you cannot see it fit to include this farmland in the future prosperity of our country, and to make sure that when people look back and say, where is Canada and it honoring its history, they will know that this place is still going to be honored. That when we have places like this that is crucial to our future for food supply, but also crucial to our history, I can't underline that enough, that we will know we honored our history. So you're on the right side of things. Farmland is being threatened, but we should not be threatening our farmers.
That's right.
So I'm delighted to be here with my wife Julia, who's here as well. And she's my gal from Perth. She knows all about what it means to preserve land and culture and history. And you know, we were talking on the way down here about what's been happening, going over the history of it all, and saying what can we do. And let me finish by this. We have petitions. We do have letters we're writing, and you've been doing such amazing work. I can't say enough to all of you for what you've been doing. It's so inspirational. But to continue that on, and I will be raising in the House of Commons, and we'll be saying, look, we've got to do this better. We have to figure out a way that you don't just come in and expropriate history, land, and people. That we have to figure out a way to preserve land, to preserve history, and to make sure that people's voices are going to be heard. And that we actually meet face to face with people like Frank.
Yes.
Frank has inspired me as a politician because he's actually said, you know what, I will stand up. I won't just, you know, bow down. And we have to honor that. Frank's voice is such an important voice, particularly now in our country, when we see our history being forgotten, when we see decisions being made by faceless people that don't engage with people. You know, what's going wrong in our democracy in many ways is that we've forgotten what democracy is about. It's about people representing people, not about interests, not about, you know, someone else's enterprise. It's about people. And that's why I'm here today. That's why you're here today. And so we will continue the fight. The petitions will keep going. We'll raise this in the House of Commons. And we've got to figure out a way to honor the bravery, the work, the hard work that this man has given to our country and to our region. And so to do that, we will continue this fight. We'll stay in touch. I want people to sign up. We've got a sign-up sheet so we can stay in touch. Keep the social network stuff moving. I heard Frank on the radio, and he said, I have no idea what Facebook was before. He's now obviously aware of what Facebook is and what it can do. And let's show people that this is an important issue for all of us. It's not about Frank Meyers, it's about Canada and our voice and making sure we have one. But we thank Frank for doing it. Thank you so much for coming out today. I always need backup, but I've got some good backup there. But I will raise it, and I thank you so much for inviting me here. And I'm so delighted to meet the inspiration of Frank and to make sure that we don't lose this important piece of history and this important piece for our future and for our grandchildren and so on. Last thing I'll tell you is that I shared with Frank in the truck, we have something a little bit in common. My ancestors came a little bit later. It was the War of 1812. And they got land after the War of 1812, which our government, you know, talks about a lot. As, you know, their history is so important. But my grandparents, Dewar, Archibald Dewar, got land just outside of Ottawa in Franktown. And, you know, I'm 9th generation, so I'm young compared to him. And, you know, this is really important in our history, that we keep it and we understand it and not fetter it away, because if we do that, then we forget who we are. And no one wants to do that. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
I have something more to say. Every time they put a farmer out of business, 20 to 25 people go down the road, don't have a job, directly and indirectly. What is wrong with our government? What is wrong with Harper? Is he selling everything out to the foreign countries?
Yes.
Damn right.
Not care about everybody here? Let's get rid of him.
Last thing is, in my household we have a prayer, and it's usually, there's a couple, but the one that we usually say, it's nice and short, it's thank the people who grew the food. Thank the people who gave us the food and prepared the food. And if we're true to our prayers, we're going to actually act on it and thank the people, but be behind them, have their backup. So not only thank you, but we've got your backup.
I just wanted to say something on behalf of my great-great-great-grandson here. Captain Meyers was an extremely important figure in the settlement of this area. He founded Belleville, his son-in-law founded Trenton. Captain Meyers himself founded the, well, here comes the train. That always happens. Captain Meyers himself founded the oldest democratic body in the province of Ontario, just a few miles from here. Captain Meyers had 2 farms confiscated and he doesn't want it to happen again. Susanna Moody wrote something about John Meyers. The year that they settled here, 1787, the next year was a terrible famine and a terrible winter. Imagine that. In her book, Life in the Clearing, she tells a story about Captain Meyers. This gentleman impoverished himself and his family by supplying from his own means the wants of the poor immigrants in this vicinity during the Great Canadian Famine. The starving creatures promised to repay him at some future period, but the generous philanthropist was forgotten by those his bounty had saved. Peace to his memory. The one rewarded on earth, he has doubtless reaped his reward in heaven. I believe the support that you have shown over the last few months through Facebook and here today has finally repaid that debt, and Captain Meyers will be smiling today.
Well, this should matter to Canadians for three reasons. One is just to honor our history. This is an extraordinarily important piece of our history right here. When you consider, going back to pre-Confederation, and you look at the battle between, our country and the Americans to really hold on to what was ours. I mean, this is really a piece of history that should be honored. If you look at what the good captain was honored for, it was for being loyal. And this is an important piece of history. The second piece is about farmland. I mean, we are seeing our farmland disappear, and as I said to folks earlier, we don't grow land, but we have land that grows food, and that food is going to be extraordinarily important for us in the future. And the third reason that this is so important is that we actually listen to people, and we don't just roll over them. When you consider that Frank is simply asking to have his land honored and his work honored, it's something we should listen to. And I know that you can have a process like we have to expropriate, and they can do it, but it doesn't make it right. So this is about people being actually coming together to raise their voice on the importance of having other people's voices heard, which too often is forgotten or people are swept aside. So those are the three reasons I think it's important to be here today and to join everyone else who's done such a fantastic job in supporting a really inspirational person, and that's Frank Meyers and his wife and his family.